we can make the most of the time. Mel, if I could start with you, please. Could you just take us back to the beginning of your story? I believe it was during the filming of the series that we're watching on the telly right now.
That's right. In fact, you'll see coming up toward the end of the series, the reunion episodes, that is quite literally where I was doubled over in pain. I'm sort of running off set, but between takes, it was really becoming quite acute at that point. So I'd had some gut pain and a few cramps, but by the time we got to recording that reunion episode, it was really, really difficult, and I was in a lot of pain.
For you. So you now want to speak to us, to speak to others as well, to raise awareness of the symptoms so you can help others catch it early. So tell us about those symptoms. What do people need to look out for?
Well, look, for me, it was definitely about the cramping that was happening in my gut, but also real fatigue had set in, more than just normal tiredness. I was losing a lot of weight, and I wasn't really aware of that, wasn't paying attention to that. And my whole digestive system seemed to just grind to a halt. It just stopped, and I lost my appetite. All of these things at the time, I just put down to jet lag. I was doing a lot of travel back and forth, Australia and UK, and I was working really hard. I was probably a bit stressed and not looking after myself, and I just ignored it. And I think this is really the message that's coming through loud and clear now, and really the reason I wanted to work with Octopus, the Oxford Colon Cancer Trust, to get this message out there, to say to people, listen to your body. If something feels wrong, if things have changed, don't ignore it. Go to your doctor. If your doctor doesn't take you seriously, ask again. Ask for a poo test. Don't be embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. It could be potentially life-saving. That's the important point to drill home. Mel, I'll come back to you in a moment, but you mentioned the Oxford Colon Cancer Trust there, and we're also joined by Professor Sunil Mortensen. Professor, how common is colon cancer?
It's the third most common cancer. About 43,000 people a year are diagnosed with it. And the good news part of the story is that it can be cured if it's caught early. I suppose up until now, people have thought maybe it's a cancer that affects older people. And if you're in your 40s or 50s, it can't be me. I think Mel's being very brave and coming out and being public about it. I think the message is to everybody out there listening, if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s and you have any of these symptoms, tummy pain going on too long, a change in your bowel habit, blood in the stool, unexplained weight loss or fatigue, any of those things, you must get it checked out.
Now, obviously, we want everybody to catch it as early as possible. At the moment, would you say enough people are catching it early, or is this why we're raising awareness today? Do we need more people to learn when it could be colon cancer?
I think that, yes, certainly we want more people to be caught early. The bowel cancer screening program, the poo test in England, doesn't come into action until you're 60, although they are very slowly reducing the age down to 50. In Scotland and Wales, you can have it done from the age of 50. So screening in the National Health Service isn't available till around 60. So I think below that, you've got to actually really push if you have any of those symptoms and get to see somebody and get checked out.
Mel, how are you doing now, by the way?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I'm going through chemotherapy now. But one of the things I'm learning about cancer and this whole disease is that there are different chemotherapies for different cancers. And the one that I'm having for colorectal cancer, it's not too brutal. I'm not really sick with it. I'm not going to lose my hair. I have other side effects like tingly fingers and a real sensitivity to cold, and of course my energy is lower than usual. But I'm working. I'm living with this rather than suffering from it. It's just become part of my life now.
And I was watching, because we're big maths fans at BBC Radio Merseyside, and I enjoy watching the petty squabbles when they're falling out in the commitment ceremonies and all that. But I was thinking then, knowing what you're going through, thinking, oh, this must be this must be horrendous for you, knowing that you're in pain and you're watching these petty squabbles over what seems like silly things play out. How was it when you were listening to those arguments and trying to do your job, because you're there obviously as one of the experts?
Yeah, look, it was difficult at times, and I've got to say it does put things in perspective. Whilst at the time I didn't know what was going on in my body, I just knew that I was feeling wrong. But having acute pain or even chronic pain is definitely something that brings life into very clear focus. And I think it makes you really reconsider what's important to you in life. And for me, what this has done has reprioritized all of the things in my life. And, I have to admit, I was probably going down the workaholic path. And, this really has made me sit back and go, okay, I'm actually going to build some downtime into my schedule and just put family and health first.
And just before I let you go, Mel, I just want your thoughts on the current series, because I must admit this is the first math series I've watched, actually, after hearing people talk about it in the office. Thank you very much. I'm really enjoying it. It seems to be a huge hit here in the UK. How have you been finding it?
Yeah, it is. And it's so fascinating watching the same show go to air in Australia and then in the UK with, there's a lag time, I think, of 3 or 4 weeks. So here in the UK, you're a little bit behind. We're about to have the reunion go to air next week, I think, in Australia. Look, I'm loving the ride. I'm loving hearing the audience response. I think there's some absolutely revolting behavior that comes through in some of our contributors, but I think the upside of that is it starts conversation. And, certainly I'm hearing a lot from people, singles and couples, talking about identifying behaviors that they're now able to label, things like gaslighting and coercive control and these types of things that maybe people are in relationships that just feel wrong. Now, hopefully they can recognize them, label the behavior and maybe get out.
Wonderful. And I could go on, but I believe our time is up. I really do appreciate your time, Mel. And thank you very much, Professor, as well, for your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks so much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I will. Thank you. Cheers, Mel.
Thanks.